What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate reverse rants, no hate. So, salute to Zhilei Zang and Joe Joyce for stepping up and coming to bring the fight to each other. Now, let me explain my words as well. Even though pretty much I'm pretty sure you guys that saw the previous videos got it. Okay? You heard me say this fight should be entertaining for as long as it lasts. Joe Joyce is the heavy favorite. But they're two big, strong dudes that like to come forward and throw bombs, and sometimes things just don't go the way you think they are. So, Joe Joyce, let me say what I've said about him a long time ago. He's slow as molasses. He's there to be hit. How he beat you is with volume. He's a heavyweight Margarito. He's a heavyweight Paul Williams. Okay? And I've heard people say, oh, the power he possesses, immense power. No, he doesn't. He throws mostly slaps. If you watch, a lot of his punches are just slaps from any little angle where they just look sloppy. Right? And basically what he's doing is he's outworking you. He's just constantly coming. And when you start to wear down, Joe Joyce just keeps coming. Now, when he sits down on his punches after he's hurt you, got you worn out, yeah, now it's easier to hurt you. Not saying he doesn't have power at all, but the majority of his shots that's landing are not power shots. They're just slap shots. Okay? When he fought against Joseph Parker, I will say that's the best fight, his best performance that I've ever seen of him. He was punching faster in that fight. He was better defensively in that fight. And basically, he was able to wear Parker out. Now, what Zhang did, for one, being a southpaw, and shooting that jab and that left hand, what Zhang was doing, we know Zhang doesn't have the best gas tank in the world. And what Zhang was doing was, it wasn't about volume. It was about patience and accuracy. So it didn't matter that Joe Joyce was trying to come forward. And if you watch, he was even backing up. He was trying to box. And the thing that I think that him and his team, Joe Joyce I'm talking about, I think they believed that Zhilei Zang would wind up getting tired and that eventually they were going to get him out of there. And for Joyce, it's not shocking that someone beat him out. You hear me guys say, the person that beats you may not be someone that people think could beat you. And with Zhang, people thought he'd be a good tune-up for him to stay busy, because that's what this was seen as, a stay busy fight. But I said it should be entertaining for however long it lasts. Didn't pick a winner because I couldn't. Because I know that with Joyce, you got to understand, he's been consistent with this style that he has. Taking punches is a part of his style. It's a mental thing. For one thing is he just can't get out the way. Then two, he can take a punch and he just keeps coming. So he's willing to take those shots, but to keep coming, and then mentally your psyche is going, what do I have to do to stop this guy? Right? And this is why pure boxers, see, when people can really box and people, but they're boring, yeah, but you see why pure boxers are always like mostly prevail in these fights, because these guys that can slip and move and make you miss these shots, you're coming forward but you're not hitting anything. So if you can wear them down, okay, well, you got them. And that's pretty much what Joe Joyce has been doing. But if you're landing his shots and you start like look at him, he got all swollen up, his face was a bloody mess, man. He was all purple, and so he didn't quit, okay, but the referee stopped it. So with one eye, right? You see how the referee did his job. They had the doctor come up and everything. You know, Daniel Dubois took a knee simply because he said something was different. It was just a different type of pain, and we come to find out, yeah, it was more than just him getting punched in the eye and having his eye swollen, right? So him taking the knee versus the referee stopping it, it was for the same reason. See, and people was crucifying Daniel Dubois because of that. But in this situation, here's a guy, Zhilei Zang, like I said, that was seen as a tune-up. Oh, but he lost to Urkovich. Yeah, but he got robbed, in my opinion. I don't know what fight those judges were watching, but Urkovich lost that fight to Zhilei Zang. And they gave Urkovich that fight. Urkovich got beat all around that ring. Now, Zhilei Zang is saying if he can't get Fury, he wants to fight Fury in China. And he's saying if he can't get Fury, then he'll wait on Joyce. Now, I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but there's other fighters out there. You understand what I mean? And you just beat Joyce. That's up to him if you want to do it again or not. But pretty much, and they're saying, oh, I'm sure Joyce could beat him in the rematch. You guys are sure that Joyce would beat him the first time. Maybe he can, maybe he won't. Who knows? Who cares, right? It is what it is. But Joe Joyce, you see, my thing is, with his style, and it wasn't that he was exposed. I don't know, people always love to say someone was exposed when they lose a fight. He wasn't exposed. This is the same Joe Joyce. He just got in there with a guy that gave him problems. He got in there with a guy that wasn't as easy as he thought. And one thing Joe Joyce was doing way too much of this whole time, he's constantly talking about Anthony Joshua, man. He's talking about other fighters and worried about who Anthony Joshua is ducking and how this guy is better than this guy and he wants to fight this guy. And I'm like, man, focus on Zhilei Zang. That's who you're fighting. And I do believe, again, that they didn't think this would really be as tough as they said it was. He was saying eventually he'll break him down and get him out of it. And I believe that that's what they pretty much thought. They was just depending on Zhilei Zang and I have a good gas tank and we're out. Now, let me give you something that's funny. People was actually having the nerve to say that Dillian Whyte would beat Anthony Joshua. He gets knocked out by Pavek, and then they changed their mind and said Anthony Joshua would beat Dillian Whyte. Anthony Joshua loses to Usyk twice. Then they change their mind and say, oh, Whyte would beat him. Okay. Then they turn around and said that even Daniel Dubois would beat Anthony Joshua. Then Dubois goes in there and get dropped by some nameless guy. Let's just say it that way. 3 times he goes down. Okay? It was a weird fight. And the shots didn't even look that damn hard. But hey, right? So, why nobody's saying that Daniel Dubois has a glass jaw? Right? But it's funny. Then all of a sudden they turn around after that fight and say, nah, Anthony Joshua beat him. They've been saying all along, yo, Joe Joyce would destroy Anthony Joshua. He'll walk right through him. Now, all of a sudden, after last night, everybody's saying, nah, AJ beat Joe Joyce. People just come up with this nonsense. I always say, we imagine a fight being a certain way based on the two fighters and what we've seen them do, but you just don't know what's going to happen fight night. You don't know the mindset that they're going to come in there with. And for people that sit there, no, you ain't know nothing. You guys were all counting Zhilei Zang out. But if the ref didn't stop it, more than likely he would have beat his face up some more. He might have stopped him. Who knows? But it doesn't matter, right? Because what happened. And the bottom line is Zhang was winning those rounds. And see, I think even like with Joe Joyce, he was so focused on worrying about, Anthony Joshua, AJ this, AJ that, AJ ducked Zhilei Zang, oh, this guy, this or that. Zhilei Zang said, Joe Joyce made a mistake in picking me. I don't laugh. When fighters say things like that, it's like, don't say that. Because if he didn't pick you, then you bitching about nobody want to give you a chance, right? Okay, so don't say he made a mistake. No, he made a decision. You were the better man. Simple. And I say for Zhang, if he can get a step up, look, I'm not going to make up imaginary fights because it comes down to what's negotiated. And in boxing, we've had too many letdowns. So even if we think a certain fight may be a good fight, with Joe Joyce and people that saying that it's over for him, Now, for people that saying it's over because they just don't rate him as a fighter or they think he's overrated, all right, whatever, no. I'm leaning more towards people that saying that is basically saying it based on the fact he's 37. He didn't start to really get people to believe in him until after he beat Joseph Parker. Then it was like, nah, this guy's for real. And now for him to lose before he gets to an Usyk or gets to a Fury, it's like, and we all know what happened when he fought Usyk, in the WOS. So I don't see anything changing, man. People were saying that this Joyce would beat Usyk, and I'm like, we'll see. We'll see. But one thing you got to always understand, see, Usyk is consistent. Can we say the same thing about Joyce in terms of, does he look like he's getting better as a fighter? No. He just did things better in that Parker fight. He was getting hit, from the very first round. Yeah, he was getting cracked. And we always knew he could take a punch. Zang can take a punch. But like I said, you got two big, strong guys that's coming to put some hurt on each other. And so you just don't know what's going to happen. So I don't really see it as an upset. I think that we use that term too much. It was considered an upset because Joyce was the favorite and more well-known than Zhang. But me watching both of them is like, with Joyce, I always said, look, let me say this about Joe Joyce. I respect what he does in the ring, and he comes to fight, and his style's been working for him. But I said, he's too easy to hit. He's there to be hit. What Zhang did, like, look at what Dubois was cracking him. But Dubois was just getting hit by that jab. He was eating, that jab, and the story with the eye. The rest is history. But if you look at it, with Joe Joyce, he has slow feet, no footwork. He just pressure, volume. If he is not able to throw as many punches per round, I told you, his volume, his tough chin, right, and that pressure that just come forward, when he's no longer able to throw, they say he throw like 80 punches around. So when he's no longer doing that and it's not volume, he'll be one of the easiest heavyweights to beat, simply because he's there to be hit. He'll be getting cracked, and eventually somebody's gonna drop you. He got rocked. Zhang hit him with a shot and had him, rocked for a minute. But he always showed a strong chin. But in terms of just like him being able to adjust and adapt, he just the juggernaut. One speed, straight ahead. And again, like I said, the Joseph Parker was his most complete fight to me. And when I watch what he did against Zhang, you can't see, that's the thing. Well, if he beat Parker, he'll beat Zhang. You can't go by that. How do we know Parker will beat Zhang? So now when you see the Jared Andersons, when you see the Frank Sanchez's, this is the thing I'm telling you. There's guys out there that's dangerous, and that these guys are avoiding. Joe Joyce was being avoided. Oh, yeah. Now when you see that performance, if somebody goes, oh, I'll fight Joyce now, that's cowardly. But at the end of the day, Zhilei Zang is 39, Joyce is 37. Neither one of these guys are spring chickens in boxing. So what it comes down to right now, for Joyce, let his face heal up and whatever. And I don't see Joe Joyce doing anything different in the future, other than maybe trying to, be more defensive, not be so reckless. But his style, he's been fighting his way forever. Joe Joyce, I'll say it again, no footwork, sloppy footwork. Throw shit, he be off balance a lot. He throws weird angle slap shots, and he's just there to be hit. So when, like I said, if you're in shape to go to 12 rounds with him, you can fight whatever your fight is and not gas out, he's not hard to beat. It's just his constant. Do people forget when he beat Berman Stavern? Do you see how many clean shots that he was rocking Stavern with? Stavern wasn't going down. It's like I told you, the guy doesn't have big power. He's heavy. So he has weight behind his shots. When he's able to sit down on his punches, yeah, he can crack you and hurt you. Yes. But it's pretty much with Joyce, it's like after he's caught you and start wearing you down. It's not like he has like devastating power. He hits you and it's just over. No, he throws a lot of slap arm punches. And basically, as far as his age, it depends on like how he bounced back and what they do with him next. Because at the end of the day, I mean, Zhilei Zang doesn't have to wait for him. He doesn't have to wait for him. Now, if he fights Zhang again and lose again, yeah, I would pretty much say it's over for him, unless someone uses him as a doormat and all of a sudden he turns into a banana peel. That could happen as well. So I'm not at all writing Joe Joyce off because of that loss, but I'm saying I think for people that were saying they think it's over for him, it's because of his age, you know. And it's like, well, who are you going to beat now that's going to catapult you back to in that same position you in? Well, you just lost to Zhang, so that means Zhang should take your spot and be the mandatory for his, the WBO, whatever belt it is. So if I'm Zhang, man, nah, I want Usyk. You want Fury, fine. You calling out Fury? Does Fury want that fight? Don't know. But at the end of the day, that's what I'd be doing, trying to go after one of the champions. And, so I respect him for having a heart to go in there and say, hey, we can do it again. And he's a fighter. That's what fighters supposed to do, have that heart. But is it really necessary for him to fight Joyce again? But that's a decision for him and his team to make. But yeah, I mean, Zhang got the job done. He was the better man. It's as simple as that. And Joe Joyce was the same Joe Joyce. The same Joe Joyce. And like when I said I don't like his style, but it works for him, so do what he does. But I would still have him try to be more defensive, not just eat shots like that. And he basically just doesn't understand that concept because that's part of his makeup. He tries to eat shots, like he'll eat the shots. And like I said, when your opponent starts to fatigue, the mental fatigue, everything follows it. That's part of it, man. That's part of his makeup. And that's what makes the fights interesting. And that's why a lot of times people were saying they want to see him versus Wilder, because they want to see if he can take that right hand. I wouldn't suggest any fighter just eat shots. I mean, for what? Just coming in, eating shots, just throwing those wild slap arm punches. And that, for me, is where I feel like a guy like, I said this last year, like a guy like Frank Sanchez, who people are overlooking, he would give Joe Joyce hell because he can box and he can move. And Joyce would have a hard time really catching up to him. Joyce has no footwork. He's just coming forward. But when you're coming forward missing shots, then you're getting cracked with shots and getting hit with combinations, and then you're not able to land. I mean, I think Usyk would do the same exact thing to him that he did before. Excuse me. And for Usyk, same thing. It's not volume, but his movement. If he's not allowed, like when he gets to the point he can't move like he used to, and he has to be more stationary, Usyk is going to have problems too as heavyweight. A fighter that can adjust and adapt to something different, that can be something different. And usually heavyweights don't. Usually heavyweights really don't. They when all fails, they depend on whatever power they have that, hey, I got that puncher's chance. Usyk's not a big puncher. He's a volume puncher. And so he's going to need to be able to do that to sustain that ability to fight these bigger, stronger guys and win. And the same with Joe Joyce. Like, without that volume and that pressure and that stamina, he's done. Imagine him standing flat-footed just fighting. He's too easy to hit. He would be the worst. So it could be over for him. We don't know. I'm not saying it's over because he lost to Zhang. Like, if people are saying it's over for him because he lost to Zhang, like Zhang is trash, no, I'm not co-signing that. I'm saying the fact that he lost to Zhang and it basically, like, this was like supposed to be a stay busy fight. Then I don't want to hear him say, I didn't have to take this fight. Because when fighters say that shit, it's like, why? Why, as a fighter, would you say that? I didn't have to take this fight. I could have fought anybody. Why would you want to fight just anybody? Especially when you're trying to make the point that I'm the best heavyweight out there, or whatever division you're in. No, you want to show that by fighting the best. Not by going in here fighting some subpar guys and then claiming I'm the best, but you don't want to step up. Let me beat a bunch of C-class guys and then hope I make enough noise that people want to see me, and then with the A and B guys. And basically, if that's what you're doing, then no, you're not earning anything. You know, if you can say, oh, retiring undefeated doesn't mean everything. Well, just being undefeated and not and being an active boxer doesn't mean that you earned a title shot either. Then, if that's the case, it depends on who you fought. So we got to look at all of that. And I think that this shakeup was cool because we need more people to start doing things. But it's so funny because now people are saying, yo, when you look at that and you look at AJ's performance, I think AJ would beat Joe. And I'm like, look, man, one guy beating another guy doesn't necessarily mean that this guy beats this guy. Okay, I can give examples. Y'all know it's the type of thing where you just have to wait and see what happens fight night. But if anything, like Zhilei Zang has made a mark. But let's say look what he just did with Joe Joyce. Now let's say Zang go and fight a Deontay Wilder and he gets knocked out by the right hand. That would catapult Deontay. You understand what I mean? Because people would say, he beat the juggernaut and then Deontay beat him. Just saying. At the end of the day, y'all, Joyce was the favorite to win, and people wanted to see Joyce get a shot. But what I will say, and don't get me wrong, him being a southpaw had a lot to do with it as well. That doesn't mean, just say like Tyson Fury, for example. Let's say Fury beats Joyce. Maybe, maybe not, though. You can't just automatically say, well, if he beat him, Fury would beat him. Like people always talk about how styles make fights. Well, you can clearly see he had no answers for that right hand. He might not have had that tougher time with Tyson Fury. And I honestly think that Tyson Fury is not as tough a fight for Joyce as Zhang was. They fight two different ways. And even though Fury does sit down on his punches, that's when Fury's effective, is when he's able to. But as long as Fury's moving, and two, it depends on this. How Fury decides to fight a Joe Joyce. Does he fight on the back foot? See, Fury, when he sees danger in front of him, he doesn't want to go forward. He just knew with Deontay Wilder, all he had to worry about was the right hand. That was it. And a guy like Joe Joyce with these volume shots, it's a different fight. So whether Joyce wins or loses, it will just come down to fight night. And this is the thing when fighters are not really consistent with it. Like, it's one thing if you see Joyce progressing, and then from fight after fight, you see like, yo, he's doing everything better. We just seen in the last fight was with Joseph Parker. And so what did you see against Zhang? You didn't see that same hand speed he was showing that he was punching faster against Joseph Parker. But you didn't see that against Zhilei Zang. You saw him looking slow, hands and feet, and he was getting cracked. He had no answers for that left hand. He couldn't get away from that jab, and Zhang was calm and patient. And Zhang didn't have to throw a whole lot of punches. And that's like the commentators kept talking about how, Zhang might be punched out. And Zhang has showed stamina issues. But it's like I say, man, it's patience. It's accuracy. It's not just throwing a bunch. He doesn't have to try to match Joe Joyce with volume. And this is where people are getting this whole thing, confused. The same way, Usyk, it's just not about I have to throw as many punches as Joe. No, you just have to move, be smart, use your movement. He's a much bigger guy, right? Use your movement, work off that jab, box, keep it moving, upstairs, downstairs, mix it up, and pretty much just outpoint him, because I don't think anybody expects Usyk to knock Joyce out, but we can't just, automatically assume who would beat who based on who this guy beat. But when you look at similarities, well, shit, man, there's nobody else like Zhilei Zang. I think they said this dude's like 280, and he's 6'6", and he basically just, look at what he beat Joyce with. Basic shit. Jab, jab, left hand, jab, left hand, jab, 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 left hand. What was the hooks and uppercuts, right? What was the breaking him down to the, nope, just kept catching him, and it worked for him. It worked. And I think the difference is because of Joe Joyce's style with coming in and he was throwing bombs, that people, look at it differently. Like, look at what AJ was doing with Franklin. Wasn't it the same shit? Only, AJ not a southpaw, so it was jab right hand. Same basic shit. You know? And with AJ, we know it's because he looked better. Definitely was showing more than, but at the same time, it is what it is. But ain't it funny how now all of a sudden, because, yeah, AJ would beat this guy. Oh, but all before everybody beats AJ. Don't know what happens from here. And then, again, for the people that was saying, oh, look at AJ. He was about to fight Zhilei Zang. Oh, Zang ain't that good. Why he ain't fight Joe Joyce? Because he was just coming off of a loss, and this was a rebuilding stage. And maybe him and Hearn was smart enough to see that Zhang is more dangerous. Like, for example, they could have took Urkovich. Why? Because he got his hand raised against Zhang. But we all know that Zhang didn't lose that fight. Right? So why he didn't fight Zhang, who knows? I don't know. I don't know why the fight. It wasn't nothing that was already signed, sealed, and delivered. It was just names that they were thinking of, and they wanted to do a tour of China. But as you see, Zhang is no walk in the park. So for the people saying, why didn't he fight Joe Joyce? Well, Zhang fought Joyce, and look at what Zhang did. So you just never know what happens. I just hope that they capitalize off of this, where Zhang is in an interesting situation. Joyce can bounce back, and, we can get some fights that we really want to see. Well, if you wanted Joyce to win, then I guess it's no downside for the people that wanted Joyce to win. If you wanted Zhang to win, well, you got what you wanted. If you really just wanted to see a great fight, made the best man win, well, we got a good fight. Wasn't great, it was good. But whatever, however you see it. But I thought it was a good fight. And, basically, I couldn't see this fight really going 12 rounds. And pretty much, I think that the longer the fight would go, people think it would favor Joyce because Zhang was known to tire, right? But it didn't. It 6th round stopped it, called it off. Like, nah, no more. And guess what? Joyce didn't protest. That eye was completely closed. His face was battered up. Hey, listen. This is the one thing that I say about boxing, man. And this is, and I mean this. It's a lot of fighters out there in this heavyweight division. But you see, the difference with now, like, people always want to compare this era to the 90s, whatever. But if you look at this era of fighters, man, they don't have a lot of slick boxers. I mean, I like Frank Sanchez and Usyk as slick boxers. Jared Anderson is a puncher. He has skills. He's up and coming. They got fighters out there, but I mean, these guys, the problem is getting them in the ring to fight. Okay? And I don't think that people really look at these guys and really see them new. Like, if you saw Riddick Bowe fight, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson, all these, you know what I'm saying? Chris Bird, Ika Ibushi. These guys could really fight, man. Like, they were smart thinkers in there. You don't see a whole lot of that, and that's where a guy like Tyson Fury and Usyk stand out, because they both are the champs right now. And, Frank Sanchez is being overlooked like most Cuban fighters are, but I mean, it's like, that's it. There's not a lot. I mean, like a guy like Ray Mercer, a prime Ray Mercer, even a Burt Cooper, man, who wasn't the biggest dude, he was small, but guys like that will get these guys fits, man. Holyfield, Holyfield with what's Riddick Bowe. This is what I mean. Like, these guys lack basic fundamentals, man. They really lack basic fundamentals. And, like, even as great as people talking about Tyson Fury is, I see a lot of holes in Tyson Fury's game, man. I'm not really impressed by a lot of the shit that I see. Okay, but why I give Usyk so much props is because here's a guy that came from cruiserweight, came up, and this motherfucker show more heart than everybody else. He's ready to get in there and fight. And you got a big 6'9", 273-pound WBC champion who's making every excuse to not fight the top guys. And again, the same way, like I said again, the same way that the fans are sitting up here saying how, oh, he'll beat this guy and that guy. No. All of these people that are saying that, when you see these fighters don't want to fight certain guys, they see the exact opposite. You better believe Tyson Fury sees danger in Anthony Joshua. He sees danger in Alexander Usyk. Most definitely. He sees danger. You may not think so, but he does. And my whole thing with all of these guys is once you start playing eeny, meeny, miny, mo, you start losing your heart. Especially if you start getting your way, getting these easier fights. Because now when you got to get back in there with another killer, it's like, damn, okay. So, the same way people slept on Zhilei Zang, don't sleep on AJ. Don't sleep on AJ. Don't sleep on Frank Sanchez. Don't sleep. Why do I not mention Wilder in that situation? Because we already know Wilder has the right hand. And that's it. What has he added to his game? So we already know what the time it is with him. But I'm talking about fighters who look like, okay, they're not the same fighter, or the confidence is not the same, or something, or well, this fighter hasn't proven himself, or whatever, but you see the skills are there. So there's guys, just saying. And look, AJ could go on his very next fight and get stretched. Or he might come out on his very next fight and stretch somebody. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I like the mix-up. Just like when Joe Joyce destroyed Joseph Parker, man, it was like, okay, cool, we got some new blood in here. If this fight, let's say if Joe Joyce would have lost, I don't think we would have got Zhilei Zang versus Joseph Parker. I really don't think so. And so we need to get these fights going. But boxing has just been inconsistent as well. So, anyway, I salute both fighters. Zhilei Zang was the better man. There was no robbery. There was no early stoppage. That fight was stopped. And the fighter, the referee's job is to care for the fighter. His safety, not worry about the fans booing or who, all this. Oh, it was a premature stoppage. And stop with all this nonsense. Stop it. Better man won. And it wasn't Joe Joyce. Talk to me in the comment section. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all in the next video.